In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Atelier Musubi Rasa 83 notebook. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a paper test, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this notebook coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links to the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. So this is the Atelier Musubi Rasa 83 notebook. This features a paper that Atelier Musubi developed with a Japanese paper mill. They said it's almost a decade's worth of research and development to make this paper. It's part of their folio system. These are notebooks that are designed to be used in a folio cover from them. I've never been able to buy that cover, so I don't know. Basically, they're just standalone notebooks as far as I'm concerned, but in theory, it goes into some system. Now, they will fit most standard A5 size notebook covers, just like our Papermind Mitsubishi Bank paper notebook. These are maybe slightly more compatible because they're a little bit thinner. This is 208 pages versus 196, so you get one extra signature there. It's 13 signatures instead of 12. You do have this nice little debossed Atelier Musubi logo there, which shows kind of like, I think it's like stitching or something like that. The cover is this blue textured cover. It kind of has like a fabric-like appearance, but there's kind of a plasticky coating to it. It's nice. I assume it's durable. I haven't dripped water on it, but it feels like there might be a little bit of water resistance there. I don't recommend you try that. The binding goes all the way over. There's no bookmark. You do have this nice paste down here, which has this kind of textured color that's pretty nice. 7mm ruling, doesn't go all the way quite to the edge, which is nice. And they have these interesting little triangle markers at the top and the bottom of the pages. It does lay flat. I do find that I hear a little like kind of gluey sound when I'm opening it, but I've not seen any glue stuck to the pages. That's just an observation, not a quality complaint, although I do kind of find myself going like this when I'm getting to a new page, but it does lay completely flat. It's a lay flat binding. There's no way around that. 83 GSM paper, it's micro-coated paper. Let's just get right to the performance. I did show this a little bit on a short that I did, but we'll just take a quick look again. The face of this, everything looks good, except I would say for the fountain pen revolution flex nib, we do see it kind of damage the surface there and we get some bleeding, which is unfortunate. There's maybe also a little bit of bleeding in spots on the Pilot Parallel 6mm, maybe a little bit on the Omas CS, which is kind of a flexy vintage pen, and also maybe some on the Pilot High-Tech Point rollerball. The rest of this, the face looks really good. This is a paper that will definitely show off sheening. It's pretty similar to Cosmo Airlight in terms of the way that it looks. What Atelier Musubi says, and I observe to be true, is that they had to do some kind of compromises. This paper is more absorbent than Cosmo Airlight, although in practice, I honestly don't think it matters. In my testing, this dries about 5 seconds faster than Cosmo Airlight, which means it's still slow to dry. You're going to want to use a blotter sheet or some kind of blotter if you're writing a lot and not taking the time for it to dry. The ink really does sit on there. It absorbs a little bit more into this paper. I do see more line spread than on Cosmo Airlight, which already has probably more line spread than most people like for writing. It does have a drier feel. It's a little bit less smooth, slightly, but it does feel to me very similar to Cosmo Airlight. And looking at the reverse, the results were so-so, to be honest. You know, the Pilot Parallel pens, we did see strong spotting. It just means basically that the surface is breaking and it's coming through. It's a different kind of bleeding than you normally see. It's only coming through in highly specific points, and it's very saturated in those points where it bleeds through versus is just coming through kind of a little bit. So we see bleeding on both the parallel pens, Fountain Pen Revolution flex nib, and now to Musubi's credit, they say not for flex pens or anything that scratches the surface, so both those flex pens broke through. The Pelikan M1000 Fine did bleed through. That's not a sharp nib, but it does put down a lot of ink, so I'm not 100% sure why that bled through, but it did. And then I think most disappointingly, we saw the Montblanc Starwalker Medium bleed through. That pen is not a gusher, it's a medium nib, and we saw points where it came through, unfortunately. Pilot High-Tech Point 1.0mm bled through in spots. Stabilo Bionic Worker, which is a rollerball, that bled through. Really only in the area where I kind of crossed something out, so not terrible. Copic Sketch did really well So did both permanent markers, the Sharpie and the Staedtler Lumo Color. No bleed through there at all. Pilot oil drawing pen also did really well. So basically my takeaway is that the surface is really fragile. It's delicate. You're going to want to be careful with it. I would say I'm not 100% sold on this. Is it an alternative to Cosmo Air Light? Yes, but I think it's pretty much, on the whole, it's worse. It is whiter in color than Cosmo Air Light. You know, Cosmo Air Light has a bit more of a cream color. This is cheaper than Cosmo Air Light. I think they knew they had to do that because the performance, in my opinion, isn't as good. They also say that the color performance isn't as good as with Cosmo Air Light. I don't really notice a difference, but if you're really color specific, I guess Cosmo Air Light looks a little bit better. And I will say Cosmo Air Light, you know, those micro-coated papers really make inks pop, and I do think Cosmo Air Light is one of the best looking, although I think I can't really tell a difference between this Rasa and that for color performance. I've enjoyed writing in it. It's well made. It lays flat. The price is reasonable. Congratulations to Atelier Musubi for making your own or developing your own paper. That's really cool. I just think it feels a bit more niche than general purpose. You know, this is something for people that really love working with ink. So what are my pros and cons for the Atelier Musubi Rasa 83 notebook? Well, it's really well made. I like the stitching. It's very flexible. It lays flat. I like their debossed logo. It's very subtle, very, you know, elegant. Great job with the build. I like the 7mm rule. It's a bright white paper. Looks really nice. It makes inks really pop and sparkle. I think they look really good on this paper. It is more resistant to fingerprints or hand oils or whatever than Cosmo Air Light, so that is definitely a plus. And it dries slightly faster than Cosmo Air Light. It's also pretty reasonably priced, $22, and you get 208 pages. That's pretty good, so I like that. Now, in terms of cons, well, I don't find this paper to be particularly nice with fountain pens. You know, my Mont Blanc Starwalker Medium causes some spotting. The micro-coated surface of this paper is really fragile. So for me, I kind of don't love it. Atelier Musubi themselves say that color performance is better on Cosmo Air Light. To me, they look really close, but if they're saying that, I'm going to take their word for it. Cosmo Air Light can really handle a lot of different nibs. You can scratch the surface on Cosmo Air Light and cause it to bleed, but you really have to try. Like, my flex nibs are fine. Pilot parallel nibs, I mean, you can pretty much dump ink on Cosmo Air Light, and you can use scratchier nibs, and they won't bleed through. So you just have a lot less leeway with this paper. There's also more line spread than Cosmo Air Light, which is, I think, the #1 complaint of Cosmo Air Light other than dry time. But with both these papers, you're really going to want to use a blotter sheet unless you're just writing and leaving the page open for quite a long time. In terms of the way that it feels in writing, they're pretty similar. This maybe has a little bit of a drier feel, but they're quite close to the point where I think I'd have a hard time telling the difference in terms of feel blindfolded. You know, I really like that they developed their own paper. Build quality is really good. You know, I like that we get a new paper. If you're okay with those drawbacks, I say give it a try. It's a well put together notebook, but if you like Cosmo Air Light, I think you're going to like that better probably than this. Okay, that's pretty much it. Do you guys have this notebook? Do you like this notebook? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.